Welcome to the video review of Iron Factory EX-05 Windsaber, otherwise known as Miko for Iron Titan. I picked this figure up at BigBadToyStore.com. Now this guy was, or I should say this gal, is actually very, very tiny. It is a very, very small little figure, but those of you who are following Windblade, or the IDW Windblade series, will know that Windblade is a city speaker, meaning that she talks to Metroplex, and she can understand him. Sort of. So let's open her up and take a look. Windsaber is an incredibly tiny figure, but I can't help but loving this little thing. It's very well painted, and it feels like it's actually been crafted, as opposed to just mass-produced. It just feels good. It feels solid. All of the bits feel good, and it will stay in place. Plus, I love the face. It's kind of like a little doll. I love the face of this figure. Even though Windblade has got a really, really interesting looking face, this figure is much more of a stark porcelain white that more reminds me of a doll rather than an actual character. And for this size of a figure, I think this look works very well. Surprisingly, Windsaber has really good posability given the size. There are bunches of swivels and ball joints and hinges where I didn't expect them to be, and I've been able to get some pretty good poses, this one being one of my favorite. It just works really well, and the overall figure feels solid. Size-wise, though, she is pretty tiny. She's actually smaller than most of the Legends class figures. Here she is next to Generations Power Glide. Oddly enough, the two of them together work really well, I think. Windsaber's transformation is pretty easy, but fun. Start off with, take the head and rotate it 80 degrees or 180 degrees. Turn the figure around and fold forward the landing gear and flip the cockpit up. Take the wings and first push the arms forward and fold the wings all the way down, or far down as they will go. Then clip the legs together. And that's actually sometimes easier said than done. Fold the legs up and over to the back of the figure to form the rear of the jet mode. Then take the arms and kind of put them straight out to the sides. And then we're going to drop them down on these pegs. And we just turn them and then drop them down onto the sides of the pegs. And that is it. Just a quick note about the transformation. There's a hinge here in the shoulder, which, duh. So with the wings straight out, if you look underneath the arm, under the forearm, there is a peg. You want to turn it such that the peg snaps right into that under forearm part. And the last bit is to turn the wind foils, or the VTOL engines, forward and make sure everything pegs into place. And then we can take the actual saber part and actually peg that underneath one of the turbines. And easier said than done sometimes, but it works. So there we go. The correct transformation. When I've got it displayed, I like to leave the sword off because I think the sword just adds a little bit too much to the figure, and you lose the ability to pose it with one of the turbines, which I like to have kind of at an angle when in this mode. I think this mode works very well, and it pretty much hides all of her undercarriage, sort of. It's a good mode. I like it a lot, and the coloring and painting here on the cockpit and beginning of the fuselage is just really, really nice. It just looks good, it's well done, and the figure itself is solid, even given the small size. And this jet mode holds together so much better than Power Glide's does. Speaking of Power Glide, here she is just sitting on top of the jet mode. You can see that her jet mode is significantly smaller, which I'm okay with. Doesn't bother me at all. Still think these two together look really, really nice. I just love the look of the two of them next to each other. It just works really well for me for some reason. Now, with this Windsaber figure being a city speaker and all, she needs to be paired up with, well, a city. So to start off with, here's a size comparison with her and Scamper from Generations Metroplex. And as you can see, those are Metroplex's feet behind them. She's actually a perfect scale for Metroplex too. It works really well, especially on Generations Metroplex. Although she is a little bit too big to scale with Make Toys Utopia correctly. Still, she does work. Overall, Iron Factory EX05 Windsaber is a fantastic little figure. I absolutely love this little gal, and I think you should pick it up, especially if you're a fan of Windblade. This figure is so much better than the Generations figure, in my humble opinion. I just love her a whole bunch. Now, I picked this up at BigBadToyStore.com. It is $30. That's a lot to ask for something that's just a little bit smaller than a Legends class figure. But then again, if you're a fan of Windblade, I don't think you can go wrong with this little gal. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video review. As always, I have been Baltmatrix. I'm going to ask you to like, comment, and subscribe, and be sure to catch my next video review.